This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Sins of the Father, Part 11. When we left off, Jeff was ready to check out, but not without his member. He'd given up that password to his computer. Lorenzo had gotten in, and he'd followed the Queen Mother's instructions. He'd let Stax know that he was going to need soldiers to monitor the surveillance at the cabin where Portia was holding Donovan 24/7 until Donovan was rescued. As the family made their way back to Miami for Nigel's private memorial service and funeral, they had no idea what they were walking into. If you watched the bonus episode, then you know that Catherine had a conversation with Nigel's mistress of nearly 25 years, Annabelle, and she ran down all that woman's business, the names of her children, where they were, and what they were doing. She also gave that woman an ultimatum: tell her children what was really going on and put her oldest son's future in her hands, or make do with whatever chump change Nigel had left for her, and pray that Andy's sons didn't end up being the kingpin, because if they did, her time on this earth was going to be up. What Annabelle did not know is that while all 5 of her children were on their way back to Miami, they were all being flown on private planes, escorted by security, with chauffeured cars waiting for them on the tarmac, and those cars were bringing them to the St. James estate. So she did not have a lot of time to make up her mind. And while Catherine had said that it was up to her, it wasn't really up to her. She was going to have to tell those children something, because their father's memorial service was going down in less than 2 hours. When the butler came to the sitting room to announce that Miss Catherine had guests, Catherine looked at Annabelle and said, "Well, it's time for you to put up or shut up." Annabelle said, "What? What do you mean?" And in walked all 5 of her children: 23-year-old Sincere, 22-year-old Saint, and 19-year-old triplets, Simone, Chantal, and Star. And in his usual role as oldest son, Sincere came in asking questions. He said, "Ma, what the hell going on?" And Annabelle immediately played her typical role. She said, "Oh my God, kids, I'm so sorry." Catherine said, "Pull yourself together. We don't have all day." And Star, the youngest of the bunch, said, "Who this lady?" Annabelle said, I don't really know where to start." Catherine said, "Start at 25 years ago when you met my husband." And in unison, the triplets said, "Husband?" Annabelle said, Your father was married, and this was his wife." Catherine said, "Don't make me embarrass you in front of your children. Act like you got a backbone." Annabelle said, "This is hard. I don't know what to do." Catherine said, "You knew what to do when you was making 5 children with my husband. If you worried about your children judging you, it's too late for that. These kids are entirely too old to have actually thought that that was your man." Then Simone, the outspoken one of the triplets, said, "Yeah, Ma, we kind of figured that Daddy was married or something, considering that he never stayed with us more than a day or 2. But if you liked it, we loved it." And Saint said, "I don't really need to know what all was going on between y'all, what kind of little weird threesome y'all had going on." Catherine said, "Watch your mouth, young man. I know your father had you learning the ropes, but he should have told you that he was the face of the operation. I was the muscle." Saint looked at Sincere. Sincere looked at Saint, and they both said, "Ain't no way." Then Saint looked at Catherine and said, "Are you twin?" Catherine said, "The one and only." Annabelle said, "What? I thought he called you Cat." Catherine said, "In public, it was Catherine or Cat. In private and in the field, it was Twin. And until this moment, not a soul in this world knew who Twin was. But my reputation absolutely precedes me." One of the triplets said, "So our father had a secret life, a secret wife, and he was..." Sincere said, "No, Simone. We were the secret life. Mommy was the mistress." Chantal said, "That's a long time to be somebody's side. Damn, Mommy." And Star said, "So y'all 2 knuckleheads knew all about this, and we was in the dark." Saint said, "Everything was a need-to-know basis, and y'all didn't need to know." Simone said, "Well, tell me something. Is Montclair even our last name?" Catherine said, "It's my maiden name." And Annabelle almost passed out. He said, "What?" Catherine rolled her eyes and said, "Every piece of property, every vehicle, every red cent is in my name." "What exactly did you think I meant when I said I had the power to legitimize your children. Star said, when I grow up, I want to be just like you, twin. In unison, Simone and Chantel said, Star! Star said, what? I certainly don't want to be no gangster side chick. Simone said, Daddy was not a gangster. Sincere said, come on now, Simone. You cannot be that damn dumb. Catherine said, oh no, honey. You don't want to be like either one of us. You want to be a boss in your own right. You want to be able to choose your own destiny, dear. And when you lay down with a man, you want it to be because you choose to, not because you need to, like your mother. Or because you committed yourself to a man who was fighting demons, and you vowed to fight them with him, like me. You deserve to have every decision you make as a woman be your own. Now, we do not have a whole lot of time. Your father's memorial service is in a matter of hours, and it won't start until I get there. We will honor your father's legacy and life as a family, and you'll have the opportunity to meet the rest of the St. James family. That's your last name, by the way. Then we'll all return to this estate. You'll have the opportunity to get to know your family better, and then you'll hear from your father firsthand for the last time. Hopefully by then, your mother will be prepared to tell you what she needs to tell you. When Chantal said, well, what are we going to wear to this memorial service? We thought we had a few days until the funeral. Catherine said, oh, the funeral is in a few days, but you won't be there. I will not be parading my husband's illegitimate children around our community. Now, Daniel will show you to the rooms that I've prepared for you all, where you will find very appropriate clothing for you to wear to the memorial service. Simone said, so we're good enough to go to this memorial service, but we can't go to the actual funeral? Catherine said, it's not about being good enough. The actual funeral is performative. In this line of business, it's open to an element that does not need to know all of our intricate business. We don't put all of our family secrets on display at funerals. Had your mother have used this time more wisely, you would have understood that. Then Star asked, Mommy, are you coming to this memorial service? And Annabelle said, I'm not welcome. And Catherine said, for obvious reasons. And if that's an issue for any of you, you all can stay here. Saint said, wait a minute. If one of us has an issue with that, then none of us can go? Catherine said, precisely. It's all or nothing. Sincere said, oh, then we all going. Speaking for himself and all his siblings like he always did. And Star, the baby of the crew, had to dissent like she always did. She said, listen, I get that you have an issue with the fact that my mother was with your man for all them years, but this is our father. We shouldn't be left out of anything. Catherine said, then he shouldn't have left you out of anything. But he did. You have an entire family that you don't know, that you know nothing about, who knows nothing about you. Your entire existence has been a secret. And I only know about you because that was my job, to know everything that went on in my husband's life. Chantal said, then when's the reading of the will? Because I'd rather not be a part of whatever this is. I don't see any good reason to subject myself to this family scrutiny, and I don't believe my mother deserves this either. It seems to me that you're punishing us for your husband's poor decision making. Catherine said, you are very much so like your mother. Let me get you straight real quick. The reading of the will be here immediately after the memorial service. And one of the things that your mother needs to tell you is that your names won't be included in it. The same way your father left you out of his family, he left you out of his will. So you can do this my way and be included, or you can do it your way and maintain your exclusion. But time is running out. I'm headed to my suite to get ready for my husband's memorial service. I suggest you all be downstairs and ready to go when I am. And then Catherine walked out the room. Meanwhile, in the cabin on the outskirts of Miami, Portia had done most of what Donovan asked. She'd allowed him to shower at gunpoint, let him eat tied to the bed, and even change the sheets. Back at the safe house, Stacks had assigned 3 soldiers to monitor the surveillance cameras around the clock, with the understanding that whatever they saw or heard was confidential, and anything that they saw that could be used to figure out where Donovan was or how they could gain access to the cabin needed to be provided to him immediately. It was pretty boring work, at least initially. Lorenzo turned the job over to them. Donovan was laying on fresh sheets and one hand was tied to the bed. The soldier, who was currently on duty watching the cameras, pulled out his cell phone and recorded the screen as Portia explained to Donovan. So this is the thing, right? I would love to have you completely untied and uninhibited, but I need to make sure that you truly understand what's at stake here. This entire property, including the road leading to this cabin, is booby-trapped. Let me show you. Then Portia walked over to the bed with a laptop in her hand, stroked a few keys, and then started zooming in. She said, you see those little devices? Anybody drive down that road, and they're going off. Then she did something else on the laptop and said, you see those devices in the backyard? Anybody come that way, and they're going off. She did something else on the laptop and said, you see these little devices on all the windows and doors? You see the little red light? Any of these windows or doors open, and all of these devices are going off. Now, Jeff assembled them, and he helped me set them up. But I am the only one who has the code that disarms them. And I'm ready to check out if I don't get what I want. So there isn't anything you or anyone else can do that's going to get me to disarm them. So no matter what you do, even if you get the drop on me, I am never going to put that code in. I'm not going to give you the code. You're not going to guess the code. And if you enter the wrong code, it's all going to go boom. The only way out of this is if you give me what I want. And once I have it, you're free to go. But I don't think that you're going to allow me to run around this world with a St. James baby in me. So you have two choices. You can fight and kill us both, or you can get with the program and make me your third baby's mother. Donovan asked, so you really don't care if you live or die? Portia said, nope. Donovan said, and you know where you're going when this life is over, Portia? And having an illegitimate child with me is worth all that. So we get it in and you don't get pregnant. Then what? Portia said, the way I see it, the odds are in my favor. I've been taking fertility pills. And according to my ovulation tester, today's the day. Donovan said, Portia, can I have like 15 minutes by myself? I need to pray and think. Portia said, no problem. But just so you know, you see that camera up there? It's always running. And no matter where I am in this cabin, I can see you. Donovan said, I get that. When Portia left the room, Donovan was near tears. He said, all right, Lord, I don't know what you want me to do right now. I've tried to think of everything. I've said everything I can think of. I've been praying for days. You know me. You know who I was and you know who I'm becoming. You know what I want more than anything. And I do not want to do this, but only because I've come so far. But you know it's still in me. This whole situation is crazy as hell. But if I gotta take her down to survive this, I'm willing to do that. Just need to know what you want me to do. And I need to know that if I do this, I'm not gonna go back over the edge. And if I go over it, she'll be there waiting for me. And then in his mind, Donovan heard one of the scriptures that Pastor Corey used to read to him when he was in treatment before their visits would end. He would say, Psalm 139, verse 8, if I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. Donovan knew what he needed to do. He said, AOP, let me holler at you for a minute. When Portia returned to the room, she said, oh, looks like somebody's happy to see me. And Donovan said, untie this rope and lay down in this bed. Portia said, okay, Zaddy. Then Donovan took his slow time getting to know every inch of Portia's body with his fingers, his lips, and his tongue. Portia was screaming and clawing the bed, calling Donovan's name, begging him to just give it to her. And Donovan was trying to make Portia crazier than she already was. He had decided that he was going to give her what she was asking for, but he was going to give her something she hadn't asked for too. He was going to give her a reason to live. And that was how he was going to get out of this. He'd deal with whether she got pregnant or not after the fact. He was going to turn Portia's behind every which way but loose up in that cabin. And if that's what he had to do to survive, then fair exchange wasn't no robbery. And he wasn't sinning. He was living. All he could do was hope that Maribel wasn't watching on the other side of those cameras. Because he was going to put in the performance of a lifetime. However many times it took to have Portia so sprung that she not only wanted to live, but she wanted him to live too. If nothing else, because she'd be hoping to be able to have some more of D all up in her guts. And baby, he wore her tail out. He gave her multiple big O's, digitally, orally, missionary, from the back, from the side, flipped upside down, on the bed, on the floor, on the chair in the corner, on the dresser, in the bathroom, on the dining room table, on the couch, on the coffee table, until she was wore out, couldn't take it no more, and was knocked out asleep, snoring and sucking her thumb. And then he explored the cabin. He found that everything she told him was true. There were cameras in every room and devices on every window and door. He turned to go back into the bedroom. Portia was standing at the door, holding his gun. She said, "Now, I thought I could trust you, Donovan." Donovan said, "Hold on now. I didn't go nowhere. I didn't do nothing or touch nothing. I was just looking around. You've had me tied to a bed for 4 days. Portia said, "You wasn't trying to escape?" Donovan said, "Hell no. I don't want to blow up in here with you. Is it possible for me to escape? Did you lie? Are those not bombs?" Portia said, "Oh, they very much so are bombs. The problem, though, is we did all that, and I didn't get the bomb that I wanted. How exactly did you do all that and not let your load off? That was just unnatural." Donovan said, "You fell asleep, and I ain't want you to miss it. You ready for round 2? Put that gun down. Come show me what that mouth do."